I have given up on paper patterns, and I exclusively only use projected patterns when I sew cosplay or regular clothing. Hi, I'm Brent. In this video, I'm going to go over projector sewing, what it is, why I use it, and why you should be considering switching to. When most people sew, if they're not going to be drafting a pattern from scratch, they usually buy a pattern. If this is a digital pattern, you have to print it out, tape it together, and then cut it out. Or if you bought a physical pattern and don't want to destroy the other sizes, you have to trace it onto new paper and then cut it out before you can even think about cutting your fabric. This process of printing and cutting or tracing and cutting can eat up a lot of time and be really frustrating, and honestly, I hate it. But this is where projecting patterns come in. If you can find a digital pattern made for projectors, and there are a lot of them now, you can go from downloading the pattern to cutting out the fabric in less than 2 minutes. This cuts out all of that annoying extra work. So how does this magical way of working with patterns work? Well, you have a projector that projects your pattern down onto your work surface. I use this cheap one I got off of Amazon for $50-ish. What projector you use really doesn't matter, but the brighter and higher the resolution, the better. I went for the cheap one just to try projector sewing out without having to put too huge of an investment in, so I think it's a good starter one. I have mine on a magic arm clamped to a cabinet, but you can get a cheap ceiling or wall mount one that will do the same. You need some way to connect your computer to the projector. Some projectors have ways built in, but mine do not. So I just use a Chromecast that I already had lying around. The projector projects down onto my table where I have this cutting mat with a grid. I use a website called patternprojector.com to project my patterns. It helps do the one thing that used to be super tricky about pattern projecting, which is calibrating. And I stress, it used to be. So what is calibrating? Well, to make sure that the image you project is the right size and it's not skewed, you need to go through this process to make the computer project it the right way. Patternprojector.com makes this super easy, and best of all, it's 100% free. All you have to do is input the dimensions of your cutting mat and then move the corners of the grid projecting from your computer to match up with the grid on your cutting mat. With that done, you can now load up your pattern into the website and it will be projected at the right size. Most projector patterns come with a calibration square. It's usually something like a 5" by 5" square that you can use to match up to the grid on your mat and confirm that the projector is calibrated correctly. I usually do this step because I'm paranoid, but so far it's worked every time. Now I'm ready to start cutting fabric. So I can get out the fabric, lay it on the table, move the pattern around so it is projecting on the fabric where I want it to be, and then I can start cutting it out with a rotary cutter. If you need to flip the pattern, it has the ability to do that as well as rotate the pattern to any direction you want. And it can be that easy. So you've got to be thinking, there has to be some drawbacks. And you'd be right. Most cheap projectors will not be very visible in well-lit rooms, so you have to turn off most of the lights. Another one is not all digital patterns are made to be projected. If this is the case with one of the patterns you want to work with, then you'll need to stitch the pattern together. So what does that mean? It means that you digitally take those printable PDF pages of the pattern and you tape them together. Most of the time you can use patternprojector.com's stitching functionality to do most of the work for you. I'm not going to go over how exactly to do this here, but there are video tutorials that go over this process that I'll link down in the description. If that doesn't work, the worst case is that you'll need to take the PDF pages and load them into a graphic software like Adobe Illustrator or Inkscape and manually piece it together. Honestly, I've only had to do this once, so I haven't found it to be super common. Okay, but what if you need to make changes to your pattern? Well, you'll need a digital copy that you can edit, and the way to do that is you trace it. No standard pattern will ever fit my body because I'm so tall. So I always have to make changes. I start most of my projects by taking the pattern, tracing it in Inkscape, and doing some initial adjustments. Inkscape is a vector graphic software that is completely free to use and has a lot of great tutorials on YouTube that you can learn it from. Don't be scared, it's really useful to learn. But what if my pattern is only a paper pattern and I want to project it? Well, then, as a first step, you're going to have to photograph the pattern and adjust it to make it not skewed and to be to scale. I use Photoshop to do this, but I've heard there are free alternatives to do this. Next, you're ready to trace it in Inkscape. Once you have traced it and made any initial fit changes, then you're ready to use it with your computer. Oh, and links to everything I mentioned, including Inkscape, patternprojector.com, and my projector are in the description. So, are the trade-offs worth it? From what I said at the start of the video, you can guess that my answer is emphatically yes. There are a lot of digital patterns being sold that have files optimized for being projected. And even if there aren't, the vast majority of them I found can easily be PDF stitched with patternprojector.com. There's a Facebook group I learned a lot of this from, and is a great place to go if you run into any issues, so I'll leave a link to it down in the description. I can't even begin to express how nice it is to not have to ever print out a pattern, tape it all together, cut it out, and only then start cutting my fabric. Using a projector gets me to cutting so much faster and saves me so much work that it is 1000% worth it, and I wish I started projecting patterns sooner. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions about getting started, drop them in the comments. I'd love to help. If you've got any value out of this video, please hit the like button. It really helps support the channel. I make videos on cosplay, sewing, and making in general, so if any of those sound interesting to you, please consider subscribing. With that, may your stitches be strong and your seams never turn to the dark side. Until next time.